Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. Let's learn some math. So we talked about types of numbers in the last video, and in this video we're going to talk about properties of numbers. So we have the three properties right here, commutative, associative, and distributive, and we'll go through them right now. So the first one right here is the commutative property. So there are two types of commutative properties. There's one for addition and one for multiplication. So let's go over the one for addition first. And it may seem obvious, but it's important to give it a label. So A plus B equals B plus A. To give an example, 5 plus 10 is the same as 10 plus 5. They both evaluate to 15. And again, it may seem obvious, but it's really important to understand this rule when we get into the complex algebraic equations. So that's the commutative for addition, and for multiplication, it works a similar way. So A times B is the same thing as B times A. So if you have 4 times 10, it's the same thing as doing 10 times 4. They both evaluate to 40. And it's really important to understand that the commutative property for addition and multiplication, they don't work the same way for subtraction and division. So, for example, if we have a minus b, that's not the same as b minus a. So 10 minus 2 is not the same as 2 minus 10, because 10 take away 2 is 8, and 2 take away 10 is negative 8. So commutative property doesn't work for subtraction, and it also doesn't work for division. So, for example, 20 divided by 2 is not the same as 2 divided by 20. Very different numbers. 20 divided by 2 is 10, and 2 over 20 it comes out to 0.1. So this only works for addition and multiplication. Now let's talk about the associative property. So again, there are two, one for addition and one for multiplication. And basically this says if you have an expression a plus in parentheses b plus c, this is the same thing as writing a, c plus a plus b. So again, you can rearrange it even though it's inside of a parentheses. Now, a parentheses we'll discuss more in the next video when we discuss PEMDAS. It basically just means you evaluate what's inside the parentheses first before you evaluate anything on the outside. So you can't do C plus A first. Can't do C plus A first because A is trapped within this parentheses. So you have to do A plus B first. So that's how it works for addition. And multiplication, it's also very similar. So A times B times A, again, is the same thing as, or apologies, let me rewrite that. A times B times C is the same thing as C times B times A. Same thing. So that's the associative property. And now let's talk about the distributive property. This is really important. So this states that if you have A times, and then inside it, let's say you have B plus C, this is the same thing as A times B plus A times C. And to see how this works, let's go through a little example. You scroll down. So let's say we have 4 times 3 plus 5. So what you could do is, normally one way to solve this is to evaluate the 3 plus 5 first, so that comes out to 8. And then you're left with 4 times 8, which gives you 32. That's one way to solve this, but let's solve it a different way. So we want to use the distributive property. So how this works is you're going to take the 4, which is outside the parentheses, and this works because you're multiplying it. You're going to distribute it to each term. So this is 4 times 3 plus 4 times 5. And now, what's 4 times 3? That's 12. And what's 4 times 5? That's 20. 12 plus 20 gives you 32. Now, even though this is a longer way to solve it than what we did at first by adding 3 and 5 and multiplying by 4, this is a really important property to understand, because when we get to the really complex equations later on in algebra, then we'll be able to use this to our advantage. And briefly, let's talk about the opposite of distributing, factoring. So if, let's say you start from here, a times b plus a times c. You can go from here to this by taking out the a as a factor, a times b plus c. So you can go the opposite way too. And just to understand that simply, let's say we have an expression here, 3 times 2 plus 3 times 9. So they both have a factor of 3. They're both being multiplied by 3 right here, 3 and 3. So we can actually take out this 3. So let's take out the 3. Let's set up a parentheses right here. And now we're taking this 3 away from the 2, so we're just left with this 2. Plus, we're taking the 3 away from the 9, so we're just left with the 9. And that's how we go from here to here. And again, to distribute it, you would just distribute the 3 times 2 plus 3 times 9, 3 times 2 plus 3 times 9. And that's how you go from there to here by distributing. So we talked about all the different properties of numbers, and in the next video, we'll discuss PEMDAS.